Alright, so I'm gonna work on a flywheel engine today. This is a 1923 Fairbanks Model Z, 1.5 horsepower. I know it's not the right color before anybody says anything. It was like that when I got it. I've had this engine almost a year now. It actually does run. It runs okay. Its issue is it's got a lot of blow by. You can hear it. Shouldn't ought to do that. It just don't have has okay compression, but not very good. Ignore these styrofoam pellets, they're falling out the ceiling. Bought this engine about a year ago. The issue was the cam gears had teeth missing off of them. These are not the gears that were on it when I got it. Wound up replacing both of the timing gears and the cam and the cam roller. This is not the original push rod. This is not original rocker arm. And I do have the correct valve spring for the intake valve. This is the original main cam gear. I don't know where the small one's at, but you can see there's two teeth gone off of it. It had been cracked and welded right here, which so is the one that's on it now. I don't know if you can see that, but that one's been welded too, but that's pretty common. This is a throttle governed. This isn't hit and miss. But I've got it to where it runs really slow. I got the timing just about right on it. It's off a buzz coil. So today's project, or today and tomorrow, and later this week, 'cause I haven't ordered the rings yet, it's going to be to replace the rings. I gotta get the piston out so that I can measure how wide the rings are and get the correct ones ordered. I rebuilt the head on this back after we got it. New valve guide, I made that. New intake valve, new exhaust valve. The exhaust valve guide was okay. Cut the seats, slapped the valves in. Did all of that. Has muffler off an economy on it. Carburetor's different color. There's a tag. And you can barely read the serial number, but it is a 23. So it makes it 100. It'll be 100 in April, which will be next month. So, I've had this thing a year Saturday, which is the day after tomorrow. But when I got it, I never pulled the piston out of it. I reset the rod bearing clearance. Another thing I got to do too is that main bearing's got some slop in it. I'm going to have to re-shim this main cap. This one over here seems alright. This was also a generator engine. That's why it has one flywheel. It's wider than the other one. That's not a mistake. That came from the factory like that. They didn't come from the factory blue, but the cylinder looks to be in okay shape. This engine was stuck at one point, but So I'm gonna probably work on this tomorrow, but figured I'd go ahead and film the intro, and might go ahead and pull the grease cup. I'm also gonna use a different type of grease, so I'm gonna clean the bearings all out. This is the grease that I've been using. It's white. I think it's food grade grease. And can't remember where I got this. And I'm gonna start using this, which is red grease, which I mean it's not gonna hurt anything. It's good grease. So what I'm gonna be working on for right now. This engine here actually has so much blow by that when it's running, here's a little, you can see a puff of the pressure from the cylinder going past the piston when it's running. So it also does not pull enough vacuum to have a gas tank down here that's vacuum pulled. So I'm gonna have to put a set of rings in it. Well, let's get this piston pulled out of this Fairbanks here. First thing I'm gonna do is take this grease cup off. It's 5/8. There we go. You can see that white grease that I had in there. Should be able to get that out with the fitting still in there. We'll have to find a pair of pliers, get that cotter pin out of there. Alright, that last cotter pin popped the heck up out of me, so this one here don't look that bad. It will be getting new cotter pins, but I put these ones in there though. I mean, they're not that old, they're less than a year old. There's that one. Alright. Alright, so there's that one. You just got to pay attention to where the shims are at. Alright, none of them stayed with the cap. So what I'm going to do, put the cap there, rotate the crank, see if I can push the piston up a little bit. There we go. And put the cap back. Without disturbing the shims. Oh, and by the way, the crank is a little bit pitted right here, but it's just a place that holds grease, so more grease in there, the better. These do appear to be the original rod bolts. Let's see. Here's our piston. These don't look like 1/4 inch wide rings, and they are not new. They're pretty worn. They got some scoring on them, some carbon. Piston looks really nice though. Alright, so these are the 1/8 inch wide rings. See if we can see what the inside of the cylinder looks like. Looks pretty good. Except there's a puddle of fuel in it, I think. So, looks nice. We'll hone that out with a hone. Alright, so these are the rings out of the Fairbanks. This is the middle ring. Where's it at? Right there. Right there. I don't know if you can see it right off the end of my finger. This ring is actually cracked almost all the way through. So that ring wasn't going to hold in there much longer. Top ring's pretty thin. I'm going to check the gap on them. So hold on while I stick this top ring in the cylinder. Alright, so got my calipers. And I don't know if you can see the gap or not. Thing's got a 1/8 inch gap on the rings. So there's literally as much gap on the ring as it is wide. Alright, so I'm going to work on the Fairbanks some more tonight. It started out as just replacing the rings, and it's turned into reshimming the bearings and replacing a rod bearing. That rod bearing is shot. It is cracked in 2 places, and the thrust face off of this one was missing, which the thrust face was missing off of this one the first time I had it apart, but it wasn't cracked then. So I'm gonna get a new rod bearing when I order the rings. But I have both of the main caps off. To reshim the mains. This really needed to be done because this side here I showed had some slop in it, and that side over there usually got warm after a while, so I figured out it was a little bit tight. Might hone the cylinder while I'm out here, because why not? We'll have to do some work to the oiler too, because it stopped up. So I'm going to get started, and I'm going to show you how to reshim a main bearing. Alright, so there we go. A lot more light. I'm going to show you how to shim a main bearing. This is the main cap off of this side. That goes the other way. It goes on there like that. There's going to be shims under it. Now the original shims were made out of asbestos, and they would compress, and you could just tighten the bolts up a little bit if the bearing started to get loose. I don't like that style of shim, so I make metal ones like most engines used, and the rod bearing on this engine does have metal shims. So these are 10 thousandths thick, both of them 10 thousandths. So I'm going to lay them in here. And ignore the wind noise. There's a pretty bad storm headed this way. Sit that on there. Put these bolts in. I did find 2 high crown bolts for this. Tighten it up. And as you can see, it's a little bit tight. I can't just freely spin the flywheels. And if I tighten these bolts down anymore, I won't be able to turn it down anymore. So, take them back loose. Lift the cap. And I made these. These are 3 thousandths thick. So, total of 6 thousandths. Lay these in here. And that raises this cap up 6 thousandths. So this bearing, you could tell, was touching all the way around. So this should give me about 5 thousandths, 4 to 5 thousandths of clearance on this main bearing. Tighten these down. And it turns freely. Just like that. And there is no slop, detectable slop in it. Not too tight, not too loose. So I'm going to take this back off here and put some grease in it. And we will assemble it for the final time. Alright, so got a good liberal coating of grease. Try to keep the bearing from falling out. There we go. I gotta order some more high crowns for this. I'm also gonna have to trim these shims a little bit. I'm also gonna probably try to show you how to make shims. Tighten them up. Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and put the grease cup back. I cleaned all the old grease out of these because I did mention that I was going to start using a different kind of grease in here. Hear it purging the air out. There we go. Plenty of clearance for fresh grease. Perfect. Alright, so what I've got here is a little sheet of aluminum. I don't know if shims are usually made out of aluminum or not, but that's what I'm going to make them out of. What I've been making them out of, sorry about that. Reflecting off the light in the ceiling. I've traced a shim out. Take some tin snips. Remember, you're just cutting out a blank here. You can always trim it to size, but cut it a little bigger. That angled piece off. And there's a pretty good shim blank. That wind's a getting it out there. I can hear it. This just to flatten it out. Alright, so now you're going to see how you draw a hole in it. Take a pair of these welding vice grips, clamp it in a vise. Most time I'd do something like this in a drill press, but there. I'm going to just hand drill this one. Hold on. Vice grips weren't tight enough. Take. Flatten it back out. Alright, so I got the other side done off camera. Didn't figure there was much reason in showing that. Same as this side. This side here took the 2 thick 10,000 shims and the 2 thin 3,000 shims. That side took 4 thick shims, and it's perfect. So I'm glad I got that finished. I'm gonna get the grease cup put back on it off camera and be done with the main bearings. I got to hone the cylinder. I don't know if I'm gonna pull that tonight. And still gotta get rings and a rod bearing. And then we'll have to shim the rod bearing and shim the rod bearing and put it all back together. Alright, so I'm gonna work on the Fairbanks some more tonight. Parts finally showed up for it. New rings, new rod bearing, plug wire, just because piston rod's all cleaned up. Just got done honing and cleaning the cylinder. And yeah, this cylinder's rough. These dark spots won't come out. I'm afraid to hone it anymore, so I'm gonna just have to go with it like it is, but it's kind of rough. So I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna check the ring gap first, and I'll do that off camera. Alright, gonna try to get this piston put in here. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to try to do this without a ring compressor. Get a stagger marine gaps. And there's a big thunderstorm coming, so you can hear the thunder. I'm going to try to do this without the ring compressor, which may or may not work. First ring's in. Well, it was. Probably gonna have to get the ring compressor out and get in there. Yep, let's get the ring compressor. Usually, you don't have to use a ring compressor on a hit and miss engine, but it helps. Like that. Oh yeah. Good drag. Everything. Yep, you can definitely hear the thunder out there. Let's see if it's got any compression. Oh yeah. Still got some blow by though. The rings will have to get seated. Oil cups on the top. Should be pretty good. Get the upper half of the rod bearing. Seated in the cap. Take the plug back out. And so now I gotta do some shimming on the rod bearing. I'm gonna do that off camera because I already showed how. Alright, so I'm gonna install this rod bearing. I got all the shims straightened out. And it'll have to be broke in and then re-shimmed again. Getting a good coat of grease on the new bearing. So that turns over smooth. There's a little bit of slop in it, but like I said, it'll have to be run a little bit and then re-shimmed. You can hear the new rings. It does have pretty decent compression. It has quite a bit of compression. Still a little bit of blow by though. Alright, so the Fairbanks runs pretty good. I've done a few things off camera. I found a really nice original rocker arm on eBay. Went ahead and bought it because this thing had a homemade rocker arm on it. This one here don't have near as much slop. Made a new push rod out of stainless steel. Went ahead and put original style springs on the valves. We've got an original style exhaust valve spring, original style intake valve spring. I changed the contact on my buzz coil contact. It's now brass. So, seems to do pretty good. That's the best I've ever heard it run. Now, I guess that's going to do it on the video for the Fairbanks. Yeah, I know it was a long one. My apologies for that. But, yeah, I got this thing running extra good. So, I guess that's going to be it for this video. And it's actually, this has been about a 2-month project to get done. So, hope everybody enjoyed the video. And we'll see you in the next one.